November 13th, 2017. Again, this is Keith Brent Duncan. We've got a goat here that's going to be a meal pretty soon. Roasted lamb. Roasted lamb, just like all the other corrupt politicians and world leaders who break the law. Everyone, not everyone, most people are breaking constitutional law because once they get out of habit of adhering to God's 10 commandments, they get in the habit of constantly breaking the law. The super criminals are the sociopaths. They are the psychopaths. Robert D. Rose and Amy Rose are the worst in the world with a $2 million bounty on their head. How can the world say they're not the Antichrist? The worst cybercrime terrorists who have infiltrated all the government agencies and corporations with agillaw.com. It's only part of the true story. No one can deal with the truth because of their uneducated apathy, which is exactly what the criminal ruling elite want to do. They want you uneducated. They want you stupid. They want you to be their slaves so they can systematically destroy the rest of God's paradise, which is where we are here today. We're at a camp that's part of DNR. It's actually 50% of the Philippines is owned by the government. I'm working directly with Agrarian Reform, Gina Lopez. In fact, I'm working for all world leaders this entire time, particularly focusing on the military and all law enforcement agencies, including the CIA, Homeland Security, NSA, FBI, NBI, Cybercrime Terrorist Group, Interpol, particularly Interpol, URLident.com. Why have they not flown me to Lyons, France, so I can finally be the #1 consultant on anti-crime and anti-politics and anti-terrorism? These are all countermeasures that are the only answer, the only solutions in world history to forever get us out of the New Testament into the Last Testament, which is God's paradise. That's what this has always been about. Unification and reform of the entire world is easy to achieve using the methodologies you will see on icjustice.com. The main website is iciunderstand.com, combined with builtByKeith, which shows every single major world problem and the answer solution to systematically exterminate and kill all crime networks, just like Jesus Christ did when he overturned the tables. Why they not arrest him? Because the priests of the time, the Jewish synagogue leaders, were getting kickbacks and grafts. They were the most corrupt of the time. They're the ones who ordered him martyred. Jesus Christ survived only by perseverance, but he didn't survive. He was crucified, dead, and buried. On the third day he rose from the dead. I will be resurrected by my people, 7.5 billion people, who now are 100% decision-based society. They decide what happens. They decide by the will of the majority of the people what happens to them. If they want to self-destruct and build gambling casinos and drink and loiter and sex and adultery and drugs, well, that's their choice. They'll self-destruct, and the people that are left will be my partners, formerly known as followkeith.com. That was the original design, one of the first, to learn first names, to teach everyone how to come together in unification of Jesus Christ, which happens to be Romans chapter 12. But of course, if you're Buddhist or Roman Catholic or Islam or agnostic or atheist, we're fine. We have no problem with that as a community group. Simply direct fund Keith Brent Duncan with bidonkeith.com. You'll see that my credentials are beyond impeccable and irreproachable. So how could I possibly have survived for now 10 years against the worst antichrist cybercrime terrorist in the world, Robert D. Rose? Pure perseverance, and I've already announced so many times that God is my only benefactor. I've yet to have any of my churches in Atlanta, Georgia, or really around the world to simply ask any simple question about, who are you, Keith? Why have you taught the entire world to love and care for each other with 1 Corinthians 13:13? Well, the answer is quite simple. Blind apathy, Matthew chapter 23. Hypocrites, cynics, blinded fools, and criminal brood of vipers. I need to walk out of the sunlight. It's a little bit hot here. The only issue in Philippines is it gets a little bit hot, but with free hydroelectric power, with SolutionsSafeWater.com, we come into the coolness of God's paradise. These are the mountains that have been deforested. We have logging trucks going up and down the roads all night long in all this heavy mud, stealing the wood. Logging is about one of the few things they can do to make a little bit of money to feed their families. And here I'm working with the indigenous cultures around the world to finally get rid of all poverty and corruption and crime and drugs and all the other vices of the world with solutionhousing.com. Everyone focus on EVote.one, which is the only answer. URLident.com is the world's first and only database that involves all taxes, all decisions. I'm wearing my tripod here. All criminal investigations. Open public database. So if anyone has a problem with anyone else as a criminal level, they submit the evidence on one single international database. The victims all get together and go, oh yes, we're a victim of this one person also. They put a bounty on their head and they are now manhunted. Manhunted with face recognition by the cell phone that's in your hand. Free Wi-Fi. Every single person, including the children, will now carry cell phones so the parents can track their children. In fact, you can also track all the criminals. Once they're convicted, they now have their cell phone. Anyone can call them and go, okay, Robert Rose, where are you? What are you doing? Turn on your video. If you're committing a crime or somewhere where you're not supposed to be, you instantly get put on death row. Why not? He should have been dead 6 years ago if the U.S. military at Langley Air Force Base, Air Force Intelligence, NSA, CIA had simply done their job and debriefed me. So at this point in time, they can call me. The military can personally come find me. All they have to do is call my cell number, 63-917-335-4300. I'll repeat, 63-917-335-4300, because my initial North Carolina State University credentials show that I'm the #1 top data communications expert, microelectronics, and mainframe operating system theory application. I'm just as powerful as Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Steve Jobs combined, as well as all the other great thinkers of the world like Edison, Einstein. Yes, all have connections to them also. So we're at 6.5 minutes now, actually almost 7. So we'll stop at this one and let this be number 1012. It's all about mass publicity. Always has been, to empower my people to rise up and to literally overthrow all crime networks. It's never the governments that are at fault. It's always the criminals that commit crimes, and because they are the government, they control the electronic databases and they constantly delete any criminal evidence against themselves. So true, that's cybercrime terrorism. It's the worst of the worst crimes against humanity in world history. So once again, this is Keith Duncan. I've got 400 pesos left to my name, which is about $8 US, but I'm worth $500 million. In fact, I'm worth more than that when I finally have the full protection of the governments and the world leaders. All they have to do is simply call me. How difficult can it be to find the right persons, which are billions and billions of 7.5 billion people who come together in the unification of God? That's the answer. It always has been. Reformation, unification of the entire world with Unocracy.com, which is run by a single international database that you control with write once, read public, of all the public decisions, the taxes, the laws, the legal agreements, the land titles. Oh, the land titles. Everyone's going to own land. They're going to have almost free building materials to build their own communities called Green Digital Creative Communities. This is funded by my NGOs. builtByKeith.com has everything else. Go public, my people, as I wait for the military to come find me. That's the only thing that's required at this point. And to talk directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staffs, to talk to Interpol, to talk to Congress, to talk to the entire world over a single, multiple series of the most powerful press conferences in world history. See, I promised all along that these criminals would go to prison and jail and put on death row because they earned, in fact, they've enslaved you all, and yet you don't know this because you're blinded, just speaking the absolute and 100% truth that no one can deal with. And they can when they understand this is God's paradise that I've claimed as yours. Take ownership of your own land, of your own life, of your own future, of your own destiny, so we can finally, after all this time, explore the rest of God's universe.